Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Continuation of the previous boiling, that is full boiling. Some simplified correlations for boiling with water also they have suggested. Simplified correlations means yesterday's class we have found out for nucleate boiling how to estimate the heat flux and also how to estimate the critical heat flux. The correlations proposed by two different people, Joubert and Rosenhau. So those two correlations we have used and found the heat flux transferred during the nucleate boiling and what is the maximum heat flux that has transferred during the nucleate boiling. For the same nucleate boiling, for the same nucleate boiling, while the water is boiling outside the submerged surface, while the water is boiling outside the submerged surface. Full boiling is nothing but with the submergence of the solid surface, the boiling is taken place, that we are saying it as full boiling. When the solid surface is submerged into the water and if the boiling is taken place is nothing but the full boiling, basically we are saying. In that full boiling also for nucleate boiling, if that is happening at 1 atmospheric pressure, only at 1 atmospheric pressure. So here to find out the heat transfer coefficients, few more correlations were suggested. Few more correlations. You need not remember these. Already these are available in the data book also. Suppose into water container, if a horizontal surface is immersed or if a vertical surface is immersed. Suppose if the heating surface is provided horizontally or if the heating surface is kept vertically, to find out the heat transfer coefficient for horizontal surface and for vertical surface, to find out the heat transfer coefficients. So people have proposed few more correlations also for estimating the heat transfer coefficient. That too for nucleate boiling only these relations are valid. For nucleate boiling of the full boiling may consist of free convection boiling, nucleate boiling, film boiling and radiation boiling. But never we will allow the film boiling or the radiation boiling to take place. Those are creating the damage to the heating surface. That is why never we will allow the uh, film boiling to occur or radiation boiling to occur in the case of full boiling. Purely we depend on nucleate boiling and try to design the boiling equipment. Suppose if that boiling equipment, there is nothing but the heater by keeping it horizontal location, heater by keeping it in vertical location, how to estimate the heat transfer coefficient for nucleate boiling. These are the correlations developed only when water is getting heat up from the horizontal surface by having contact or when water is getting heated up from the vertical surface by having contact. That may be any surface it is. That may be a copper surface, that may be a brass surface, that may be a platinum surface, but material is it is immaterial. What material we are choosing, but orientation only we are considering here. The copper surface by keeping it horizontal or by for brass surface by keeping it horizontal or platinum surface by keeping it horizontal, how to estimate the heat transfer coefficient during nucleate boiling while the water is in contact, that too at 1 atmospheric pressure, while the water is at 1 atmospheric pressure with any type of horizontal surface, that may be a copper surface, that may be a brass, that may be a platinum or any combination. To find out the heat transfer coefficient, the relations are given. So in that case, suppose in the nucleate boiling also the amount of heat flux supplied is less than 15.8 kilowatt per meter square, then which value is calculated 1040 into delta T to the power 1 by 3. What is delta T is excess temperature. What is this excess temperature? Temperature difference between the heater surface and the surrounding saturated liquid. Surrounding saturated liquid means here water. So what is the saturation temperature of water? 100 degrees centigrade. So this delta T is the temperature difference between the heating surface, that is horizontally placed heating surface and the surrounding water temperature. Saturation temperature of water is 100. Only thing is horizontal solid surface temperature must be known to estimate the delta T value. So here, knowing the delta TE value, how to estimate the heat transfer coefficient during nucleate boiling while water is maintaining contact with any type of horizontal surface at 1 atmospheric pressure. That is what I have clearly written. Upward also I have written, while the water is boiling, only while the water is boiling outside the submerged surface. Outside the submerged surface, that may be any type of material it may be, but outside of that material, while the water is getting boiled at what pressure? At 1 atmospheric pressure, then for different ranges of heat flux that is transferred during nucleate boiling, H value is calculated using these simplified relations. So H values are calculated using these simplified relations. Suppose during the nucleate boiling, if the amount of heat flux supplied is less than 15.8 kilowatt per meter square, the H value is calculated. So as 1040 into delta Te to the power 1 by 3. If heat flux supplied during nucleate boiling is between 15.8 to 236 kilowatt per meter square for the same horizontal surface, so H value is calculated during that moment is 5.56 times into delta TE cube. If you open the data book, so they are already available. So even I think I have already taken the data book copy Xerox also. I will show you. Yeah, here they are there. You just see here for horizontal surface. Again, I have taken from the data book. These are for horizontal surface. If heat flux value is less than 16,000, I have took it as 15.8. So then H value is calculated as 1042.6 into delta T to the power 1 by 3. It is nothing but 0.333. Suppose if the heat flux applied during nucleate boiling is between 15.8 kilowatts, is nothing but 15,800 to uh, 24 kilowatts, 24 kilowatts, then 5.56 into delta TE cube. So if that is not the case for vertical, from vertical surface, if the nucleate boiling is taken place, so then for a value of Q by A less than 3000 watt per meter square or 3 kilowatt per meter square, H value is calculated like this. For the same vertical surface by having contact, so for 3 kilowatts to 63 kilowatt per meter square, H value is calculated like this. So these are the H values found while the water is getting boiled at 1 atmospheric pressure. These are the H values calculated while the water is getting boiled at 1 atmospheric pressure. So there is no guarantee that always boiling will take place. So at 1 atmospheric pressure of the water. Sometimes, so more than the atmospheric pressure also may be maintained over the water surface. In that case, other than the atmospheric pressure, at any given pressure also to find out the heat transfer coefficient, HP is taken as this is heat transfer coefficient at a given pressure value that is obtained as this is H value obtained at the atmospheric pressure. That is nothing but either this or this or this or this. So these are the H values obtained at 1 atmospheric pressure for different heat flux values that are supplied during nucleate boiling. So that by substituting into P by PA. What is this P value? That is the pressure where we are trying to expect the heat transfer coefficient. So this is how at a required pressure also we can get the heat transfer coefficient for nucleate boiling. So when the water is making contact either with horizontal surface or with vertical surface also. So this is what is. In the nucleate boiling earlier, how to estimate the heat flux values we have seen. Q by A, how to calculate we have seen using the two known relations. So for these heat flux values that are supplied, how to estimate the heat transfer coefficient for the same nucleate boiling region when the heat flux value is less than 16,000 or when the heat flux value lies between 16,000 to 24,000 watt per meter square. So if it's not the case, from the vertical surface, if the boiling is taken place and if the heat flux value lies between 3000 and between 3000 and 63,000 watt per meter square, how to get the heat transfer coefficients at 1 atmospheric pressure. These are all the relations obtained only at 1 atmospheric pressures. Sometimes if the pressure is different from the atmospheric pressure, to get the heat transfer coefficient at the pressure, this is the relation to be used. H at any pressure equal to, this is H at atmospheric pressure. That may be of the value obtained from this or the value obtained from this or the value obtained from this, or the value obtained from this. That has to be substituted into P by PA. What is this P value? The pressure where we are trying to get the heat transfer coefficient. This is atmospheric pressure to the power 0.4. We get the heat transfer coefficient at the given pressure, and later on we will estimate what is the amount of heat flux. Otherwise, this is all simple. So this is a heat transfer coefficient. How do we get for water while getting boiling by having contact with horizontal or vertical surfaces at 1 atmospheric pressure? These are the relations to be used. Other than 1 atmospheric pressure, to get the heat transfer coefficient, these relations must be used. So based on that, we are looking to solve the problems on that. And there is an advantage. So what is that advantage also by looking into the problem? So the same thing I have. So heat transfer coefficient at any pressure P equal to heat transfer coefficient obtained at atmospheric pressure into P by PA. This is at what pressure we are trying to get the heat transfer coefficient. That pressure value by PA is atmospheric pressure to the power 0.4. The same descriptions only I have given. That is what. Based on that, we are trying to solve the problem also. Calculate the nucleate boiling heat transfer coefficient. In the earlier classes, we have just estimated for nucleate boiling what is the amount of heat flux transferred. But never we have estimated what is the heat transfer coefficient for nucleate boiling in the full boiling region. So calculate the nucleate boiling heat transfer coefficient for water while boiling in a horizontal tube whose wall temperature is maintained at 10 degrees above the saturation temperature of water. So what does it mean by the difference between the tube surface and the saturation temperature is 10 degrees centigrade? That is what? Indirectly delta T is directly given as 10 degrees centigrade. Next, what they have given? Assuming the water to be at a pressure of 10 atmospheres. It is not at 1 atmospheric pressure. Assuming that while it is making contact with the horizontal tube, the pressure maintained over the liquid surface is 10 atmospheric pressures. In that case, they are asking you to calculate, determine the change in value of heat transfer coefficient. See here, with 10 degrees centigrade of difference of temperature, so here at 1 atmospheric pressure, what was the heat transfer coefficient? At 10 atmospheric pressure, what was the heat transfer coefficient? Then they are asking, determine the change in value of heat transfer coefficient. So change value of heat transfer coefficient. So that means, so with 10 degrees centigrade of excess temperature, so while the water is at 1 atmosphere, other case while the water is at 10 atmosphere, what is the change in heat transfer coefficient? The difference in heat transfer coefficient. That is what they are asking. So next what they are asking, the temperature difference is increased. They have changed the temperature difference from 10 to 20 degrees centigrade at 10 atmospheric pressures. Then what is the change in heat transfer coefficient? They are asking. Next case is the pressure is raised to 20 atmospheres at 10 degrees centigrade. In both the cases, so what is the change of heat transfer coefficients? They are asking. So what is given here in the first case? So here for 10 degrees centigrade difference, what is the heat transfer coefficient at 1 atmospheric pressure we are getting? So that is assuming heat flux should be of less than or greater than 15.8. This depends on the range of heat supply we have considered. So in the nucleate boiling, whether it is considered, if you see these relations, for different heat flux values, different H values are available. Either we are choosing for this case or we are choosing for this case. When heat flux values in the range of 15.8 to 236 kilowatts per meter square. For this range I am now choosing, this is our assumption. For this range of heat flux that is applied, then H value at atmospheric pressure is calculated as 5.56 into delta TE cube. So that is what I have assumed, and heat transfer coefficient at 1 atmospheric pressure I have calculated, assuming the heat flux supplied is more than 15.8 watt per meter square Kelvin. Then what is the heat transfer coefficient at 1 atmospheric pressure I have got with the 10 degrees centigrade excess temperature? That is 5.56 kilowatt per meter square Kelvin. Then what we have done, heat transfer coefficient at 20 atmospheric pressure we are trying to get it. So for this, with the same 10 degree centigrade difference, but at 20 atmospheric pressure we are trying to get it. So that is why Hp equal to Ha into P by PA. P, what is P? At 20 atmospheric pressure and 1 atmospheric pressure. 20 by 1 to the power 0.4 as per the known relation. So what is HA value? Just now we have calculated, that is 5.56 into 20 to the power 0.4. That value is identified as 18.43 kilowatt per meter square Kelvin. So that means with the same excess temperature of 20 degrees centigrade, one time we have calculated at 1 atmospheric pressure for the same 20 degrees centigrade of excess temperature. One time we have calculated at 1 atmospheric pressure, another time we have calculated at 20 atmospheric pressure. Another time we have calculated at 20 atmospheric pressure. Then what is the difference in heat transfer coefficient we are calculating? That is heat transfer coefficient at 20 atmospheric pressure minus heat transfer coefficient at 1 atmospheric pressure divided by heat transfer coefficient at 1 atmospheric pressure into 100 percentage. We are converting and representing. 18.43 is the kilowatt per meter square Kelvin at 20 atmospheric pressures. At 1 atmospheric pressure, its value is 5.56 kilowatt per meter square, as we have seen here. At 1 atmospheric pressure, HA value is this much. At 20 atmospheric pressure, H value is this is. That is equal to 18.43 minus 5.56, and compared to atmospheric heat transfer coefficient at 1 atmospheric pressure, that is 5.56. Altogether, there is a rise in heat transfer coefficient. Even though the that excess temperature maintained, between the heating surface and the surrounding saturation liquid is 10 degrees centigrade. Upon increasing of the pressure value for water, there is a rise in heat transfer coefficient by 32%. This is the meaning. By increasing the pressure acting on the liquid surface from 1 atmospheric pressure to 20 atmospheric pressures, there is an increase in heat transfer coefficient by 32%. That is what is the case. Next, what they are saying, so here, so maintaining the pressure at same 10 atmospheric pressures, but the change in temperature or excess temperature is changed to 20 degrees centigrade. Then what is the heat transfer coefficient at 1 atmospheric pressure? First we have calculated. This is 5.56 into delta T now has become 20. Instead of 10, it has become 20. Now this is the heat transfer coefficient at 1 atmospheric pressure. But they are asking you to calculate at 10 atmospheric pressure. Therefore, HA into P by PA, that is 10 by 1 to the power 0.4. Ultimately, what is that we have got? 111.73 kilowatt per meter square Kelvin. Here also you have observed. What is that we have observed? Both with the change of excess temperature, also with the change of pressure value, there also the heat transfer coefficient is increased. Keeping the excess temperature constant in the previous case, we have just increased the pressure value and the heat transfer coefficient was increased. So in this case, not only pressure is increased, also we have increased the excess temperature. In this case also, the heat transfer coefficient is increased much higher than the previous case. Earlier, with the same 10 degrees centigrade, how much was the heat transfer coefficient? 18.43. Now with 20 degrees centigrade of excess temperature, so the heat transfer coefficient is increased to 111.73. So either with the increase of excess temperature or with the increase of excess pressure acting on the liquid surface also, the heat transfer coefficient will be increased enormously like this. Then is flow boiling. So this is what is the, so the extension of the problems we have seen for nucleate boiling of the full boiling. Next is flow boiling. Flow boiling, what is that we have told you? So while the tube itself is a heating surface, acting as a heating surface, and when any kind of liquid is allowed to flow at some velocity, and on receiving of the heat from the tube surface, the flow the inside flowing liquid will undergo the boiling phenomena. So describing various phases like this. This is what is the flow boiling phenomena we are saying it as. Flow boiling or forced convection boiling we are saying it as. While the tube itself is acting as a heating surface, and any kind of fluid will flowing inside of your tube, upon receiving of the heat from the tube surface, from all sides, so the fluid will undergo different changes of boiling. And what are the changes of boiling taken place, that we are trying to describe. So from the tube, so that is when the fluid is receiving heat, it will undergo different changes like what we have seen in the case of full boiling. So nucleate boiling, film boiling, radiation boiling. Here also it will undergo different regions of boiling. What are those? So here the liquid is allowed to enter at some velocity. Is a forced convection boiling or flow boiling? Therefore, fluid must be allowed at some velocity. So up to some region or at the entry region of the tube, it will be the convection is taken place under forced convection. Why? Because the fluid is allowed to enter at velocity. Therefore, between the tube surface and the liquid, while the heat is transferred, that is subcooled heating is taken place. We don't allow the liquid to attain the saturation temperature. Only liquid existing in the liquid phase only, the temperature rise will take place. We call this as subcooled heating or forced convection heating, we call it as. Forced convection heating or subcooled heating, we call it as. Next. So liquid of so much temperature, further while making contact with the tube surface, still the temperature will increase, and the liquid layers that are adhered to the tube surface, they start converting to vapor bubbles. So then those vapor bubbles also will move into this of the mainstream liquid fluid and will start to move in this. So more quantity of liquid, lesser quantity of bubbles combinedly will try to travel. That region of flow we call it as bubbly flow. Bubbly flow means more quantity of liquid containing of lesser quantity of vapor bubbles formed at the tube surface. Only at this level, the liquid particles, by reaching the saturation temperature, so few number of bubbles are formed. Those are allowed to travel along with the maximum quantity of liquid that is flowing further. That flow of boiling, we call it as bubbly flow. So further, when the flow is allowed to come in contact with the tube surface, more quantities of bubbles are formed, and those bubbles, uh, one bubble will mix with other bubble, and the size of the bubble will keep on increasing. The size of the bubbles will keep on increasing. We call the bigger size of the bubbles formed as slugs, slugs, slugs. And all bubbles are not converted to slugs. Slug is nothing but a big bubble formed there. In the previous case, smaller bubbles are formed. They travel along with the maximum quantity of liquid portion, and further while making contact with the tube surface, more in number of vapor bubbles are formed, and those vapor bubbles are mixed together, and a bigger bubble is formed of. Each bigger bubble we call it as one slug. Each bigger bubble we call it as one slug. And along with these bigger bubbles, few quantities of liquid particles are also traveled along with that. That region of flow we call it as bubbly slug. Bubbly slug. So here, further, while making contact with the tube surface, even more bigger bubbles are formed. Even more bigger bubbles are formed, and the bigger bubbles are located centrally and surrounding of these bubbles. So here, there is a annular space. So the space between this of the vapor bubble and the tube inner surface, liquid portion is occupied. Liquid portion is occupied. This kind of flow of the boiling we call it as slug flow. A bigger bubble located along the axis and surrounded by the liquid surface, we call that flow of boiling as slug flow. And further, while it is moving along the tube surface, even more lengthier bubble is formed, vapor bubble is formed, and even you see the size of the vapor bubble keeps on increasing. And here, so as more the bubble is formed in a bigger size, completely central location, there is no portion of liquid, only the portion of liquid is occupied between this bubble and the inner side of the tube surface. That kind of flow we call it a slug annular flow. Annular means surrounding the slug, and surrounding the slug, the fluid is occupied between the vapor bubble and this of the inner tube surface, the liquid is occupied. Whereas here, along with the vapor bubbles, there is some portion of liquid is also traveled. Along with the vapor bubble, some portion of liquid is also traveled. But the moment when you reach here, centrally only vapor bubble is occupied. Only outside the vapor bubble and below the inside of the tube surface, the liquid is occupied. This kind of flow we call it as slug annular. Slug annular flow we call it as. Further, so when the vapor bubble is moving in the forward direction, the annular flow is taken with a bigger, longer size of the vapor bubble with a thin layer of the liquid occupied at the tube surface. The flow we are calling it as annular flow. Further, as it is allowed to move, the vapor bubble also will be, what is that, divided into, this will also mix with this of the rest of the what is that liquid layer, small thickness of the liquid layers along the tube surface, and will divide into a fog or mist like flow. Mist like flow, fog or mist like flow is formed. The vapor, by combining with the small layers of liquid along the tube surface, will divide into fog or mist like flow. So that is what is, so mist like flow, so that is what is mist flow also we call it as. The vapor, so more of, so 90% of vapor, 10% of liquid that is occupied along the tube surface will mix together and will convert into fog flow, fog or mist flow we call it as. It is like a, uh, when snow covers the, what is that uh, outside ambient, that is the situation we get it here. It is covering like a snow formation, covering like a snow formation. That is the case of the mist flow. Next, that mist flow also, so here still, by receiving the heat from the tube surface, will completely converts into vapor, and the vapor will become superheated vapor, and that will be escaped from the exit of the tube surface. This is superheated vapor coming out under forced convection only. So these are all various regions of flow boiling phenomena happening here. Initially, liquid will be in the liquid state only, just rise in temperature will take place, subcooled heating which is taken place. Next, so the very first layers are the layers which are adhered to the tube surface only will attain the saturation temperature, and those layers only are forming few number of vapor bubbles, and they also travel along with more quantity of liquid into this mainstream of the fluid. Further, as it is allowed to move, so more number of vapor bubbles are formed, and these vapor bubbles are mixed together, and the size of the vapor bubbles are keeps on increasing, and the rest of the locations there also will be occupied the, what is that, liquid portion. And in this region, from here to, from A to C, so are in the total B region, there are few number of vapor bubbles surrounded by liquid portion. So therefore, the heat transfer rate is maximum with these kind of combinations. After crossing this, the vapor portion keeps on increasing. Vapor acts like a bad conductor. The heat transfer rate from the tube to the rest of the liquid will be reducing. The heat transfer from the tube to inner side of the vapor is getting decreased. So that is why the heat transfer coefficient keeps on decreasing. So beyond this B region, beyond the region, as completely slug flow is taken place. Completely slug flow means vapor flow is taken place. More of the vapor content is allowed to take place beyond this point. More of the vapor portion is converted beyond this region, and vapor is a bad conductor. Therefore, the heat transfer coefficient is keeps on decreasing. So this is what is why there is a decrease in heat transfer rate, means as the quantity of vapor content is increasing, vapor acts like a bad conductor, therefore there is a reduction in heat transfer coefficient. But here, why there is an increase in heat transfer coefficient? So up to here, during the slug flow, as long as there is the slug flow continues, suddenly the vapor bubbles are allowed to travel surrounded by liquid content and directly from tube surface to liquid. So the heat transfer is taken place heavily. The heat transfer coefficient is increased here. Once more 90% and above of vapor is formed, vapor is a bad conductor, then the rate of heat transfer is going to be decreased beyond this B region. That is how the heat transfer coefficient is getting decreased. So next, so then when you reach the mist region means completely the bigger size of the vapor, when that has completely, so what is that, split it into small pieces of, what is that, bubbles. So the rest of the liquid bubbles, then a mist flow, a fog is formed there, a mist is formed there. So with this mist flow, the convection is taken place. This is what is called as mist flow. Mist is nothing but a flow with snow formation or fog formation, that is. And beyond this, so any portions of liquid left out also will be completely converted to vapor. So this will become superheated vapor. Now with superheated vapor that comes out of the tube, this is what is, again we are saying it as represented by F. So when the flow is converted to mist flow, slightly there is an increase in heat transfer coefficient. Otherwise, the same heat transfer coefficient will be maintained at a lowest level. Otherwise, a slight increase of heat transfer coefficient is seen due to availability of few liquid droplets in the mist flow. So when liquid particles are available, heat transfer coefficients are more. When no liquid particles are available, so purely with the transfer of vapor, the heat transfer coefficients are getting decreased. So that is what is the variation of heat transfer coefficients with the increase of vapor quality. So here, when vapor quality is 0, that means totally the liquid is in liquid state only. So corresponding to 100% quality means all liquid has converted to vapor. All liquid has converted to vapor means, so through the vapor, very lesser heat only will be transferred from the tube to inner side vapor. That is why the heat transfer coefficient keeps on increasing. And once it is converted to superheated vapor, so that has come out of the tube surface also. This is what. So this is so complex than that of full boiling also. You see here, the understanding of the mechanism is so complicated when compared to the full boiling, where it involves with different combinations, where it involves with different combinations. Here liquid, next this is bubbly flow, that means few number of bubbles with more quantity of liquid, then bubbly slug flow, and 20 here 10% bubbles, 90% liquid, here 25% bubbles, 75% liquid, here 60% bubbles and 40% liquid, here 70% bubbles, 30% liquid, here 85% bubbles and 10-15% liquid. So like that liquid portion keeps on decreasing. Beyond this, the vapor bubble completely get collapsed and will be converted into mist or slug flow. Mist or slug flow by mixing with this of rest of the liquid particles. A snow-like flow is formed there, and that also on receiving the heat from the tube surface will completely convert into vapor phase in the form of superheated vapor that comes out. So since vapor is a bad conductor, so when converted to vapor, the heat transfer coefficient keeps on decreasing. This is what we have seen. In yesterday's case also, when vapor film is formed, film acts like a barrier and that will restrict the heat flow to take place. So that is why the heat transfer coefficient also is minimized. Heat transfer rate is decreased means indirectly heat transfer coefficient also is decreased. So when vapor formation is more and more. So this is what we have seen. And for flow boiling or forced convection boiling, to find out the heat transfer coefficient, the only one and relation available is 2.54 delta TE cube e to the power P by 1.551, where P must be taken in mega Newton per meter square. So to substitute in this equation to get the heat transfer coefficient for flow boiling like this, that means the flow happening inside the tubes or pipes. So for this case of flows, to find out the heat transfer coefficient, so this is what is the only relation available that was proposed by Jacob. He is the scientist proposing H value. So that is what water at 6 atmosphere flows inside of a tube of 2 centimeters, and there is a excess temperature of 10 degrees centigrade. They have asked you to calculate what is the heat transfer rate. So for the delta T given here is 10 degrees, and what is P value given? 6 atmospheres. 1 atmosphere equal to 1.01325 bars. 1 bar equal to 10 to the power 5. Further, ultimately we have converted to mega Newton per meter square. To substitute into this equation, P must be in mega Newton per meter square. That was Jacob has told. P should be always in mega Newton per meter square for substitution. Therefore, we have converted like this. After substituting, the H value is estimated like this. Then for flow boiling, what is the heat transfer rate? It is a convection heat transfer. HA into delta T. What is A? So pi D into L. So that is surface area for the tube. So for unit length, they are saying pi into D, diameter 2 centimeters means 0.02 meters. The change of temperature between the tube and the inside flowing fluid is 10 degrees, and this is the amount of heat transfer estimated. So with this, the flow boiling is also completed. Hope you have understood. I am closing this. Thank you. Tomorrow's class we will discuss about condensation. Once the condensation is completed, then we will move on to heat exchangers topic. Okay, hope you have understood. I am closing. Thank you.